Tēnā rā koutou katoa, tēnei te mihi kia koutou, I raro I te manaakitanga o ngā atua, no reira kei te mihi. No reira, kia tika rā me timata ai tēnei huhinga I runga I te kupu aroha ngā atua, I whakawātia te ara I mui a tātou katoa. No reira, ki inoi tātou. Paua ki runga, paua ki raro, no rangi, no papa, pai mairire.
Pai mairire.
No reira, kia tika rā me mihi atu kia koutou. Me mihi atu kia koutou mō koutou nei whakaro I whakawātia te taima I tuku aroha ki ngā atua. No reira kei te mihi. Huri noa he mihi kauna ki te wāhi ngaro. No reira ki ngā tangata I haere atu, I wehe atu ki te pō. No reira haere atu rā, haere atu oki oki. Anō I raro I te maru o te rāhui o COVID, I mōhio ana au ngā tangata kua wehe I raro I te rā wāhanga, no reira kei te mihi ki ngā whānau pani. Ki ngā whānau pani I ngaro ai o koutou o rātou nei taonga, no reira kei te mihi ki ngā whānau pani I raro I te kapua pauri. No reira kia kaha rā whānau, kia kaha rā. Kia kaha rā, he paku whakaaro hoki, he rā noa pōpō, I roto I te hihi o tamanui te rā, ko te mene o tō taonga, no reira kei te mihi. Ka hoki wairua mai ki konei ki te kānui ora, ki ngā iwi katoa Aotearoa, mai te rāwhiti ki te uru, mai te raki ki te tonga, he mihi kauana kia koutou ngā kaitiaki o te whenua o Aotearoa, no reira kei te mihi. No reira, huri noa kia koutou katoa ngā rauranga tirama, mai era atu wāhi, mō koutou nei pukinga, mātauranga I pāna ki tēnei kaupapa, he kaupapa tino whakahirahira, arā ko wai he aha te kaupapa, arā ko te oranga o te tangata o Aotearoa, no reira he mahi rangatira tērā. No reira, kāre tōro taku nei mihi kia koutou, no reira, huri noa te whare tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou a kia ora mai tātou katoa. Ka haere au ki te aroa Pākehā whakamohio te. So just a real thank you for allowing me the space to begin our hui with our karakia to acknowledge the energies from above and below, the energies from within and without, and so that peace can reign upon our hui today. So thank you. Just acknowledging all of us for the people that we may have lost or over this last period of time, and acknowledging the people that have gone to whatever kāinga tūturu, their resting places. We hope that they rest easy, but also knowing that it's a different situation that we find ourselves in given the COVID situation, and acknowledging all the people that are still here today with us and acknowledging them and the loss that they've felt. But a small thought is that there is a day tomorrow, and in that day that the sun will shine, and that we can look to the rays of our sunshine to see the smiles of the people that we may have lost over this period of time. So all of our love and all of our strength to those of us that may have lost somebody over this period. Bringing ourselves back to the living and just acknowledging all the different iwi of Aotearoa, from the north to the south, to the east to the west, and thanking them for the guardianship that they hold over this wonderful place that we all call home, Aotearoa, New Zealand. Turning my attention to all of the people in this room that I am yet to meet in the physical form, but we're meeting in this virtual form. I acknowledge your strengths, your skills, your journeys, your experiences that you're lovingly bringing to this forum today, and I thank you for that. And I hope that the hui goes well today.
Koe mō tō karakia I runga I te kaupapa o te rā nei, tēnā koe. Just want to acknowledge you, Kaurangi. Thank you for opening up our forum today. I have had the experience of meeting you in person when during the AAD conference last year out in Auckland, and was honoured to be part of your workshop that you held on Saturday. So and really enjoyed it. But on behalf of the participants, thank you very much.
Kia ora, Karangi. Thank you very much, Karangi and Witi, for your beautiful welcome there for us all. It's a wonderful way to start and an appropriate way to start our forum today. Exciting to see that we have 95 people registered for this forum and we've got 68 with us now. People will continue to join as the forum goes on. But just want to say welcome to all of those who are here right now and acknowledge the real wealth of experience and representation that we have in the room. Very exciting to see that we've got representatives from the Ministry of Health, from our DHBs, from our NGO partners, the Health Quality and Safety Commission, the Health and Disability Commission, Tangata Whaiora and whānau advisors. So also want to acknowledge the presence of our KPI sponsors, our program sponsors who support and sponsor the program as we move forward. They're highly committed to the mission of this program, the full utility of our data in the mental health and addiction services to drive improvements for equity of health outcomes, because that's what this is all about. This is about understanding what we can learn and what we can do to improve mental health for people that access services, for tangata whaiora, their whānau and for communities. So today's is quite unique. For the first time ever in the KPI program, we are joining in a virtual way together for a national forum, coming together right across New Zealand to participate for the next couple of hours. So there'll be a lot of learning for all of us. For some people this is quite new, and for other people we have become really familiar with Zoom. I've certainly been using it a lot myself in the last few months. This reflects where we're up to in terms of being in the midst of a global pandemic, COVID-19, and learning to work in different ways, learning how we can connect still, but connect remotely. So it is different, and I'd just like to acknowledge that. So please just remember we need to be patient with each other, but stay focused on what we're here to do. So connecting in the ways that we can today. We really want to leverage off the value of the KPI program, which is about building a data set and focusing this forum on our experiences during the COVID period. What can we learn? How are we working to improve mental health outcomes for the people that we're working with? We're here because we all share a belief that informed practice and collective action drives a much better well-being for all of us. And we're really thrilled to be able to facilitate this space and expand the connections, enhance our collaboration, and have some really powerful and wicked and challenging conversations with each other about what we've learned. So, I mean, my name's Megan Jones, and I have been involved in KPI for probably about 9 years now, and absolutely loved it. I think that each year has been really different, and sometimes there's more of a focus on data and sometimes there's more of a focus on improvement and other activities. But the uniqueness, as Ray was just saying there, is that this is sector-led. So this is a collective forum where many voices come together to look at what's happening. Over the years, we have had lots of challenge and lots of excitement in our forums. And it's wonderful to see how KPI continues to move forward. So my background is in nursing, and I bring a clinical background, but also a research and educational background. At the moment, I'm working in operations as the adult operations manager in Waitemata, and you know, enjoying that very busy and challenging job at more of the front line of mental health. But I also have experience as a service user myself, and I have lots of family who have mental health experiences. So being a part of understanding how it works when you're working in the sector and how it works when you're accessing mental health, very different sides of a coin. So I like to think that as we move through today, we can hold some shared ideas and shared experiences and understanding of where all of the people in this forum might be coming from, because each of us has a unique place that we speak to and that we bring to this forum. Certainly my reflections over the COVID period have been that it was an incredibly profound experience in lots of ways. It was traumatic for some people. It was difficult for many people. For other people, the things that they've learned, the things that they've experienced have in fact made life-changing experiences for them in positive ways. I certainly know with me and my family, as we were doing many less things, there was a real chance to connect in a way that we hadn't been doing quite as much of. So there's a whole lot of opportunity, but also some really difficult times for people. In terms of the services, everything changed. I know that our service started to work incredibly remotely. When we were no longer seeing people face to face, we started to use Zoom, we started to use phone calls, we started to connect more with family than we had before, which was really, really interesting. There are lots of learnings. I know that one of the things that we did is we transformed our acute end of the service so that we could see many more people and see those people in places that weren't the emergency department. That really changed people's experience, and we had a lot of feedback from people using our service about how much better things were for them as a result of that. One of the things that we know as a result of this is it can change how we offer services, and when we need to, we can be different and we can mobilise. So these are important things that I know that our team where I work, we're very connected to continuing what we've been doing because it has transformed what we've been doing, and there've been many positives for that. So that's a little bit about me, and it's a little bit about my experience so far around COVID. But what I would like to do now is to introduce the other adult program leads, and that is Lee Reygate and Sati Simbi, to talk about the life before COVID and what our KPI program data story has been telling us.
Morena, good morning, everyone. My name is Lee Reygate, as Megan just said, and I work for an NGO organisation called Emba Korowai Takatini. We're coming up to our first birthday, in fact, because we were formed last July as a merger between Connect Supporting Recovery and Framework Trust. I've been fortunate to be part of the adult KPI program for a number of years now, initially as a funder, and then after a bit of a break, I came back as the Northern Region NGO rep. So, you know, it's something I've always enjoyed. What we'll be doing over the next 20 minutes or so is going over some key COVID-19 data. So the first slide, and to me, coming from an NGO perspective, you know, probably the most important one, is percentage of episodes of whānau engagement. You can see the figures there. I suppose it's a little bit worrying, there's a slight decline over the years. But you should note that, of course, the third column, 2019, it's just for a short period of time, July and December. So I know for me, it'd be really, really interesting to see what it looks like when the COVID period comes in and we can have a look at it. Some regards it'd be a bit like Christmas, I think. I won't go into the details of whānau engagement because I expect most of you who attend such a forum will probably know as much as I do. but at its core, it's the number of episodes of whānau engagement of care divided by the number of episodes of care. And the key primed codes for this are the family contact codes, the T32 and T36, and direct support to family whānau was this T47. So we could move to the next slide, please. So here we've got a number of indicators. Now you note that this covers 3 years, but it only covers the March to June period in the 3 years. As you'll realise, this is no coincidence because this will be the sort of COVID period that we can look at when the data comes in for the current year. So the first one we have is the adult inpatient pre-admission community care. Now note this is the DHB only figure, so it doesn't include the NGOs. We have the percentage of admissions to inpatient units in the reference period, which is the March to June period, for which a community service contact was recorded in the 7 days immediately preceding the admission. So this is for all the DHBs, and we have a sort of an average of 56% over the 3-year period. The next indicator is the adult inpatient post-discharge community care. It's a DHB only measure. So it's percentage of discharges from inpatient units for which a community service contact was recorded in the 7 days immediately following that discharge. It has some exclusions as well. It excludes people under care coordination. It includes contact with family, which doesn't include the consumer. And it also excludes DNAs and on leave. The third indicator on that page is adult inpatient 28 days readmission rate, which of course is looking at the discharges from inpatient units that result in readmission within 28 days. Of course, a minimum of a 1 night stay is required for this measure. And that one's at 16%. So we can move to the next slide, please. The last indicator we're looking at is seclusion. Once again, for the previous indicators, it's looking at the March to June period. And once again, it's looking at the same time period, 2017 to 2019. Seclusion is based solely on, of course, the T33D code. So we have, of the number of seclusion events per year, we have 815. This works out to be 2.8 seclusions per person and 53 hours of seclusion per person on average, or 2.2 days.
So we're going to move on to that part, which is around the experience so far around COVID-19 and capturing the qualitative experience indicators. So it's been a challenging time and there's been a lot of uncertainty and unpredictability. But this is also an ongoing journey that we are taking. So what we wanted to do was to capture specifically how our sector, how tangata whaiora and whānau responded, and those moments that allowed people to feel proud and capture those things that gave them hope for new possibilities in our mental health and addiction services. So we'd like to start this next section of the forum with a video and a compilation of some of our sector's most memorable experiences throughout the lockdown. It's now my privilege to welcome Aaryn Niuapu. He is the co-chair of NAMSCA. So NAMSCA is, for those who don't know, most people do know, but those who don't know, it's the National Association of Mental Health Service Consumer Advisors. And they have been undertaking, Aaryn has been undertaking some research in contact with Auckland DHB's tangata whaiora.
He whati tiri ki te rangi ko te aroa ki te whenua, tihei wā mauri ora, ko pou whakahaere taki rau torohu ki te toka tūmai, me ki nā kahui tūkaho hoki ko Aaryn tōku ingoa. E mihi tuatahi e kahurangi tēnā rau atu koe whanaunga nau te mahi a rangatira I tēnei ata, I tēnei rā, tēnā atu koe whanaunga. Ka huri au e mihi ana hau kia koutou e hao mā, e whānau mā, e nā tangata whai te ora katoa, ane koutou whakaro, ane a koutou kupu, ane a koutou kōrero. Kia ora everyone, my name is Aaryn, and I'm the co-chair along with Chris of NAMSCA, as well as the service manager for the Auckland DHB's consumer leadership team. And just briefly, I'm going to present in regards to data collected during the lockdown regarding the experience of tangata whaiora in my peers' engagement via Zoom or telehealth. Just to give a bit of a background context, so nothing ever happens in isolation. I just want to acknowledge the awesome work that the wider NAMSCA whānau had been doing, whether up north or in Whakatau, South Taranaki, Midlands, or on the coast. The majority of the consumer advisors, consumer leaders throughout all 20 DHBs and throughout the NGOs were doing similar feedback and quality improvement projects. So I just want to mihi out to the larger NAMSCA whānau and also acknowledge that this project I'm about to present was a smaller part of the larger Auckland DHB's 3-month action plan, which focused on capitalising on some of the opportunities that presented through the lockdown, which obviously one was telehealth. But just as you see the first slide here, I just want to give a background to the whole process. So this is just from an initial snapshot of the feedback process. So the consumer leadership team were given a 2-day turnaround, given initial data. Then from that initial data, sample size was sourced. From that sample size, it was carried over to the clinicians to liaise with tangata whai te ora consent for our team to contact. And through that short turnaround, 17 participants gave their consent, and then ensuring over the course of that period of time, my team did phone interviews with all 17 that consented for contact. So as you can see in terms of this first slide, the ethnic breakdown, the two majority populations there were Pākehā and Māori. And going down to the age group, obviously you can see a large chunk of the participants were between the age of 21 and 40. And I didn't put it up there just because of room, but just to give you a sense of the gender breakdown, that a majority were female. We only had 2 males in terms of those who disclosed obviously that gender. And in terms of the experience overall for the 17 participants, as you can see, a majority of them were very satisfied in their engagement via Zoom, whether it was assessments or group activities, group therapy. A lot of people that we were interviewing over the phone, and our interviews ranged from between 15 to 25 minutes, depending on how much people wanted to share. A lot of people were very, very satisfied, and obviously you can see not many people kind of stuck their nose up to telehealth engagement. A lot of people did say they wanted to engage further with telehealth in the future. There were some caveats around that. And then I'll go into that further in the next slide. But just before we do, I just want to highlight something that's really important, that, you know, as a sector look to capitalize on things like telehealth, when we are trying to increase access, we need to make sure that we're also ensuring that choice, you know, it's always the access and choice, access especially with our peers with tangata whaitiora, self-determination is pivotal. And even though everyone, was satisfied and very satisfied with their experience, everyone in one way or another said that they always thought that choice should be front and center. So just to kind of sum up the themes that were evident within the body of feedback. So first, what's working well is that it was clear that in terms of ease of access and convenience, that was a major factor. That, when it came to especially parking around services and DHB locations, parking was a big hassle and is a big hassle historically for both tangata whaitiora and whānau. So, not having to worry about parking or travel time or petrol or costs, for bus and train. So ease of access was one of the main themes that came up whilst working with telehealth. The second one, especially over the lockdown period, was the benefits of being connected and not only with other peers like in group therapy or group activities, but also with their key workers in their care teams, just to be connected with someone outside of their bubble and to maintain a sense of normality when it came to greater social connection. So in terms of another major thing, connection, especially for psychological engagement in terms of a peer's journey with recovery, that was another major theme. And another one in terms of the experience of tangata whaitiora, engaging with telehealth, what made it quite a pleasant experience was actually that, and I know that a lot of staff were stressed during this time as well, so hats off to them for that, but a lot of engagement from staff were actually quite positive. And even in terms of some of the feedback was, just staff getting used to even, facilitating things through Zoom, whether it was an assessment or counselling session or group therapy or whatnot. That there was a dance there and becoming familiar with how to facilitate those things, but what held it together for those positive experiences for tangata whaitiora was just that engagement level of staff staying positive and creating that ahua, that space that really made the journey a lot better for the peers that were interviewed during this process. Some of the identified challenges, and I think this goes across many of the quality improvement projects throughout the nation at this time, is that access to technology and related logistics is a massive barrier. There were a lot of comments around, not having stable internet, having to use data, and I myself have had that experience in which, you could chow down a gig easily if you've got like back-to-back Zoom sessions in a day. So a lot of tangata whaitiora that fed back to us said that, the actual tools and material logistics necessary to engage in Zoom were big barriers in making the experience pleasant, but also being able to connect into what they were meant to connect into for their sessions. Communication barriers, so there were some themes that popped up that people couldn't read people's body language and physical cues, especially when it came to the group therapy, and especially in gallery view, and there's a whole lot of people. Sometimes the communication gets lost, and people can't really pick up what you usually pick up face to face. This also, when it comes to communication barriers, it also relates to language barriers. So the access to translators in group therapy and assessments and whatnot. Another thing was, going back to group facilitation, is that, especially in gallery view, sometimes tangata whaitiora said that they felt very lost in kind of the sea of many people engaging in group facilitation through telehealth, and that there was a barrier there in terms of feeling like their voice was actually being heard. amongst all the dynamics and personalities. Our side is on equity, which seems to be the buzzword of the month at the moment. But in terms of equity, there was 3 themes that really came through the data. One, probably the major one, especially in terms of the Māori participants in this quality improvement project, was the sense of cultural safety. So no matter where people were at on the spectrum of their engagement and their affiliation with Te Reo me o na tikanga, most people that whakapapa Māori that were part of this feedback process said that they preferred face-to-face. But I want to say a disclaimer to say that, you know, this was just a snapshot, and, you know, this was the initial part of the process, and I wouldn't want there to be a grand kind of anecdotal narrative that all Māori prefer face-to-face. I'm sure there's some anecdotal evidence for that, but I wouldn't want to box someone that is Māori into that category just because of this data. But from what this snapshot data produced, definitely a face-to-face was the preferred way of engagement for Māori tangata whaitiora. Things around just simple things around, you know, doing a karakia together and you know, doing a hongi together, feeling people's wairua in real time. That those were things that were disclosed that were missed in the use of Zoom. Number 2, so when it came to you know, access to technology, stable internet and data, and all the tools necessary to engage in telehealth, a majority of those comments came from the Māori participants in this quality improvement project. So in terms of equity, I think we need to really look at that in terms of targeted approaches for the future. If you know, material accessibility is a big barrier for Māori tangata whaitiora in engaging through Zoom, then that definitely needs to be rectified. And number 3, ironically, and I do want to throw a disclaimer in after this as well, ironically, when it came to our Pacific participants, you know, a lot of them saw this as a new way of connecting, and a lot of them said that they didn't feel like their cultural needs weren't being met. But I think, you know, just as this is just the initial snapshot, and we're starting the deeper research right now, you know, it needs to be teased out as to maybe they already had great relationships with their key workers or their team, or because they were affiliated with a special team, there was a cultural team that they had already built up that cultural connection with them. So I think that needs to be teased out as well. And again, a disclaimer, just because Pacifica participants in this research said that they were okay with the use of Zoom during the lockdown, I don't want to say that you know, other Pacific people didn't enjoy that process. So again, the bottom disclaimer, further research needed. And I think when it comes to equity, we have to be really careful that the tools and the mechanisms that we put in place to address inequities don't end up perpetuating inequity. So, you know, no group is homogenous. So further research needs to be done with telehealth, and as I said, part of the process is this comes from during the lockdown period, 17 initial participants, and right now the Auckland DHB, which Health Director, is going through phase 2, building up a population-wide survey, as well as a tandem process for those who didn't engage in Zoom, as well as engaging with staff and their views, and obviously we got to get down to the nitty-gritty crux of people's stories. So building up that qualitative data through wānanga and through focus groups.
That brings us to the final part of our forum today. I guess there's lots of things that we might take away from today and think about. I suppose one of the themes and things that has come through for me was how much people really work together. That they rapidly found ways in which we could do different things to stay connected and to keep providing services and to keep that engagement there. And some of that worked well and some of that didn't work well. But we've got a long way to go in terms of figuring out how it needs to work in the future. But also that this is still a moving environment, and we need to be thoughtful about that as we go forward, what we're learning, what we're doing differently, and not necessarily jump right back into the way we were doing things before, because we might miss some of the good things that we could be doing into the future. So really important that we hold some of this and capture some of this. Really appreciative, Aaryn, to have your presentation on the research that you've done. There's so much rich information there, and we really look forward to being able to look through that a little bit more deeply, but also for the phase 2 that's coming up. It's very important work that you've done there, and thank you to NAMSCA for supporting that work. I think with this forum, as with any large event, there's always a critical team in the background who have come together to make sure that the shared experience is valuable and positive. And there have been lots of people in the background today making this work. And whilst it's gone pretty smoothly today, there's a lot of work that goes into making it pretty smooth. So thank you very much to Te Pou. Thank you very much to the adult leads. Thank you to the whānau advisors who have worked incredibly long and hard with our KPI team to make this forum happen today. We believe that the voices of all will compel us forward in the right direction, and we're really grateful to have had so many people and so many voices working in partnership to deliver this June forum. We'd like to continue to ensure that the forums we deliver are of value to the sector and progress the right sort of actions and priorities. So as part of doing that, it's going to be really critical that people fill in the evaluation form, which will be emailed out at 1 o'clock today. This includes a brief survey and a question about the recommendations from the recently released Health and Disability System Review Report. In the question, you'll be able to note which of these recommendations are the highest priority for you and your service. If you don't receive the evaluation survey for any reason, then please just check your junk email box because it might have flipped into that. But finally, before I hand over to Kārangi to close the forum, I just need to let you all know that the Zoom forum space will remain open till 12:30 today. And if you'd like to make the most of this opportunity to connect with people online or informally, just send us a message in the chat and we can help facilitate that in the virtual breakout space as well. So once again, on behalf of the adult stream leads and the KPI team at Te Pou, we'd like to thank you for attending the forum this morning and look forward to many more valuable connections and hope to see you all in person later on this year.
And without further ado, there's only 3 little points that I want to make from my perspective as Principal Advisor Māori. First is the concept of data sovereignty and how that plays out in the collection of data, and I'll let that fly. That's a whole kaupapa unto itself. Thirdly is when we're and I think this is not something just for Māori, but I think when we're collecting data is the offering of koha. The offering of something. When somebody is giving something to you, there's to consider giving something back to them, and that might look like I'm not too sure, but it's something for DHBs and organizations to consider in terms of their policy development. And then thirdly is about the data that we collect that I've noticed today is very clickbait heavy in terms of filling in databases. But what I'm more interested in is meaningful engagement. Is once we engage with a person, how effective was that engagement? So it's something else to think about. And so yeah, I just wanted to drop those sort of thoughts. Regardless of that, e te whānau ngā mihi ka koutou katoa mō ka tēnei taonga konei, kia whakakapi tēnei huihuinga I runga I te kupu aroha o ngā atua. Nō reira, pauhiri, paurarama, te aho I roto, marama I roto, tēnā te pau ko te pau ka eke, nā te pau nei kōrero, ka mā te ariki, ka mā te taura, ka piti ki te whai au ki te amarama, hui te ora, hui te maramatanga, haumi e hui e, tā ki e.